Look, I know that Chinese manufacturers have been making autofocusing lenses for a while now, but they've all been primes, and I would argue that autofocusing lenses out of China are still in their infancy. Companies like Sirui and Viltrox, they do have some really nice autofocusing prime lenses, but we now have the world's first zoom lens that autofocuses out of China. And of all manufacturers, I didn't think it would be Thypoch. Don't get me wrong, I love their glass. They've got fantastic lenses, but they generally tend to make boutique manual focus lenses for M-mount. But here we are, world's first, and this is a 24 to 50 millimeter f2.8. This is Thypoch's brand new Voyager lens. I'm Chris Nichols, this is PetaPixel. Let's go on a voyage together.
Okay, so the focal range and the really small size on this Typoch lens means it could potentially be a very good lens for video. It's actually filming me right now. But what I can guarantee you is good for video is having great rates-free music that you can pepper throughout your project. And to help you with that, you want to check out this sweet deal from our friends at Audio. Audio has a massive library of music that's actually made by real human beings, not just a bunch of AI-generated garbage. And what's really cool with this is you can get lifetime access to this entire library. Now, normally that's $4.99, which is actually pretty reasonable for the quality and quantity of music you can get here, but I could do way better for you. If you use coupon code PetaPixel199, then you can get that entire lifetime access for $199, $300 off. That's an absolute smoking deal you should definitely take advantage of. So again, use coupon code PetaPixel199 to get lifetime access to this great library of music. Thank you, Audio, for giving our fans this sweet deal.
So seeing as how this is the first autofocusing zoom lens made by a Chinese manufacturer, it's going to get a lot of scrutiny. And to be honest, 24 to 50 millimeter is not what I would consider a great general purpose first foray. I know this is more of Jordan's kind of focal length, and I mean, as he implied, this might have a lot of video chops. We're going to explore that. But when it comes to photography, it can still be a nice walk around general purpose lens, maybe a bit of landscape, and having that f2.8 aperture is nice. The other benefit, of course, is it does certainly keep the cost down. You can get this new Thypoch lens from Sony E-mount. Sony, though, does give you a direct competitor. They do make a 24 to 50 f2.8 lens, but it is basically twice the cost of this. So this is absolutely value branded, but is it going to have value brand optics? Well, we're going to find that out as well. But before we get into that, I do want to just talk about the overall look and design of this lens. Now, the first thing I noticed about this design is that it's very eye-catching, and that's because Thypoch's going hard in the paint with a lot of different textures here. And I don't know if I love it. It's maybe a little bit distracting. There's a lot going on, but it's incredibly functional. So first off, you've got this aggressive checkering on the aperture ring, but it's easy to find. It goes all the way around the ring, and it's indexed really nicely. I will point out, though, that you cannot declick this aperture for video use. Keep that in mind. But then we go to a different diagonal cut on the rubber rings on both the zoom and the manual focus. Now, this diagonal rubber, it does pick up a lot of like hair and dust really easily, so you're definitely going to see that. But again, functional for sure. So in the front of the lens, we have a pretty basic plastic hood, but it seems to be working well. 67 millimeter filters in the front. This lens does have a fairly plastic feeling chassis on the outside, but it's IP52 weather sealed, so dust and splashes, no big deal. And the fact that it's internal zooming is going to help that as well. We also get a customizable button and an autofocus manual focus selector switch. And at this price, a lot of manufacturers would omit that, so it's nice to see. We've got a rubber ring here to keep stuff out of the lens mount, and you'll see a USB-C port there to do your firmware updates. And on top of that, this lens only weighs 450 grams, so it's very easy to carry around all day. But the overall aesthetic is kind of techy, very different departure from their manual focus M series lenses. It's kind of giving me Laowa lens design a little bit, but you know what? It's functional, and that's what matters. The gold badge on here is a nice touch as well. So this lens does, of course, autofocus. I mean, that's something we want to really look at. I'm pretty sure there's a stepping motor in here. Thypoch didn't really let us know that, but you know, it's quiet, it's silent. What I will say though is it's not particularly fast. As you can see here, it's doing a very consistent job with Jordan standing still and in the background, but we also want to do a famous Jordan running test just to see, can this lens hold up? And when you push it 50 millimeters at f2.8, it's not bad. It seems to be tracking effectively, but sometimes it's just a little bit behind. I just don't think the autofocus motor can keep up, and you definitely notice that when Jordan gets quite close to the camera, which is of course challenging for any lens, but particularly so for this. For some travel or landscapes, you know, the occasional portrait and certainly video work, I think the autofocus is going to hold up properly. But if you're looking for something that's going to be more demanding for quick, fast movement, maybe look somewhere else. Okay, I'm gonna spoil this for you. This lens doesn't do great macro, okay? This 24 to 50 millimeter can focus to about 0.3 meters, and it's gonna give us roughly 1 to 5 life-size reproduction, which is nothing to write home about. Now, in a situation like this where I've got a group of 3 flowers, this works out quite well. I mean, you can see my minimum distance is right about there. I can frame all 3 flowers nicely, and I can get the occasional detail shot, but if I wanna get right in on a flower, this is not gonna happen. We should also consider that the Sony counterpart, their 24 to 50 millimeter f2.8 can achieve 1 to 3 life-size reproduction. Still not a macro lens, but definitely better than this. You know, for a lens that's not macro, I'm going to be doing a lot of macro today, but you know, 6 months of awful brown winter will make you enjoy every flower shot you can get. Okay, so no more flowers. Now we're going to trade it for graffiti dogs and a little shooting here on 4th Street, but this is going to give us a good opportunity now to talk about some of the other aspects on this lens here. So first off, video. I'm actually going to kick off with video because Thypoch is definitely marketing this lens as a hybrid lens for photographers and videographers. What work have they done? Well, we can't declick the aperture, but the size, weight, and internal zoom function means this is great on a gimbal. In fact, I shot Jordan's earlier audio ad on the gimbal using this lens, and it's doing a great job. And again, the autofocus has no issue with video applications. The other thing that is good for is breathing. As you can see here, as we focus from near to far and back again, we're not really seeing the field of view change. And this is really positive if you want to do focus pulls while recording a clip. So Thypoch as a company has been playing around with multi-coatings lately with their Epoch line of coatings, and this has got the Epoch M coating. Now, I've seen some really fun stuff from them where they're playing with more warmer tones and stuff like that, cinematic tones, but here they're going for a very conventional multi-coating, and it's doing a pretty good job, as you can see here in our flare test. Shooting wide open, we're getting just a hint of ghosting, some loss of contrast, but it's pretty minor. I don't usually worry about it. It's easy to restore. When I stop the lens down, ghosting's not out of control. You can see that they definitely appear more visibly, but again, not bad at all. So I'd say Thypoch's doing a good job here. You know what I'm doing today is I'm shooting this a lot like a 50 millimeter lens that just happens to go to 24 millimeters. And in that regard, I'm liking it. I mean, the idea is that a lens that has an f2.8 aperture and goes between 24 and 50 can basically replicate a 24 mil, a 28 mil, a 35 mil if you'd want to, and a 50 millimeter f2.8. And so treating it like a bag of primes, I'm actually enjoying this experience a little bit more than I thought.
What's the thought here, Chris?
The thought is I really want to use my EVF, even though I have a perfectly good screen on the back. Yes! Your favorite. Yeah, it's the King of Holland painting, the King of Dutch painting. Now, because this lens has a fairly fast f2.8 aperture, and if I'm shooting at 50 millimeters doing close-ups or down a garden pathway or something, for example, I can get nice shallow depth of field, but bokeh is a hell of a drug. And I say that, of course, because bokeh is so highly subjective, all right? Like, first off, looking at the specular highlights here, you can see Thypoch's done a really good job. They're quite clean, slight onion ring effect, but it's minor. A little bit of a soap bubble effect, but it's also minor. You get a bit of a polygonal look when you stop the lens down, but I think overall Thypoch handled this, and I was expecting worse. But when I look at the autofocus highlights, I do feel like there's a bit of a harshness going on. I kind of waffle on this one. This one's strange. It's actually grabbed my attention. Normally a lens is like, it's nice, or there's something wrong with it, but this is just like, I can't put a finger on it, even though that's my job. So I'll let you guys maybe have a look and tell me what you think. Corners can look a little bit soft and a little bit weird and squishy, but I think that's something else, and I'm going to talk about that next. All right, let's talk about sharpness. We're testing this on the 60 megapixel A7R5, and let's start at the 24 millimeter end. Looking at our charts here in the center at f2.8, great detail. I mean, if there's a minor loss of contrast, it's very small. When you stop down to f5.6, anything like that goes away, but I'm happy with it. Corners though do get a little schmeary. You can see here at f2.8, not great in the extreme corners, pretty soft even before you get to the peripherals. And then when you stop the lens down at f5.6, it helps quite a bit, but we're still getting that schmeariness in the extreme corners. And I think this has a lot to do with just heavy distortion correction. This is something that we see a lot of modern lenses do, especially to keep things compact like this, and that's where we're gonna suffer. Now, how about the 50 millimeter range? Well, here in the centers at f2.8, there's a little bit more to be desired here. It's not bad, but it's certainly not as good as it was at 24 millimeters. Stopping down the lens absolutely helps, and so if you're looking for maximum detail, you're gonna wanna do that. When we look at the corners here at 15 millimeter, this is an interesting story. At f2.8, they're rough, as you can see. They're pretty soft, lots of blur. Again, I think distortion correction is going on here. But when we stop down the lens to 5.6, they get way better. So, moral of the story is this: shooting this lens wide open at f2.8, fine, especially for video applications. For photography, as long as your subject's well within the center of the frame, you're good. But if you're looking for consistency, you're definitely gonna wanna stop this lens down. So Jordan wants me to say that I dig this lens, which is hilarious. He's a very funny man, very funny. I've always said so. But I'm trying to think here, like, do I really dig this lens? I certainly appreciate what Thypoch is able to do considering the affordable price on this lens. But when it comes to the actual use of it, did I really enjoy it? Did it really gel with me? Maybe more if I was into videography as well. I think it's cool that Thypoch is making this foray into zoom lenses at autofocus, and I really hope we see more from the Chinese manufacturers. I think for me, it's mostly just the fact that a 24 to 50 millimeter isn't really my cup of tea. But as you've seen, from an optical performance standpoint, for the value of the dollar, I think that's high. You know, when we look at the competition, in Sony E-mount, this is tough. I mean, the 24 to 50 from Sony, it's quite a bit more expensive, but I think we're getting nicer bokeh. We're getting definitely faster autofocus. It's a sharper lens overall with less compromise when it comes to that distortion correction. And so, yeah, I think that's maybe a better option if you can afford it. Or again, I'd go with something like a 20 to 70 f4. That's definitely more my speed. But again, it's really easy to say that I prefer to have all these other lenses, but the cost is definitely higher. When you consider the low price of this lens, the fact that it's giving us good utility, and if you're into shooting things like video work and gimbal stuff as well, this then does make a lot of sense, both fiscally and creatively. Let us know if you guys agree in the comments below. We always appreciate the feedback. Do check out the PetaPixel podcast. It's on this exact same channel, or you can listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. And definitely consider getting a PetaPixel.com membership. $3 a month, $30 a year. You can see all the benefits. And honestly, we just keep adding more and more perks every day. It's just getting more and more valuable. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon with more on PetaPixel.